when food and life meets with me, Mallery Jenna Robinson. Take one.
Ooh, I think you did it.
Was that good?
I think so.
Okay. Get you something to drink. Let's get you all taken care of, ma'am.
Ooh.
Get you some of this Southern homemade lemonade.
Southern homemade lemonade. I mean, that's pretty special. And
You're special.
Oh, stop it! Oh, stop it! So I wonder why you say it from the South. So, or where are you from? Who am I with right now? Who are you?
Yes, I'm so happy to tell you all. My name is Mallery Jenna Robinson. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am from Montgomery, Alabama. I am also an incredible human being who loves to make sure that transgender and HIV healthcare is front and foremost for our community members who are most marginalized. And then I'm also the Associate Program Director for Equality California.
busy girl over here. And sorry, I my face lit up right now because of what I was drinking.
Oh, so please tell me, what do you think?
This is like, okay. I've never for drinking, I've never been one for, those people out there who they love different kind of drinks and lemonades. And I've always been kind of I just drink water. I was and if that. And recently I've really gotten into lemonade. So when you said you have lemonade, I was like, ooh. I was like, okay, let's see what. And this is I give this an A+.
Oh,
it's not overly sweet, but it's fresh. I don't know how to describe it.
I literally I had did some homemade lemonade and just made sure it was there for you. And I put here it is,
Appreciate it.
So please, if you want to drink, come on over and see me. And I'll
oh my God,
keep you Southern. And got some snacks here, some fruits and.
Fruit and goldfish. I mean, that's the best setup right now. I was I love this. Are you kidding me?
I was I hope you so good.
Yes.
And we got some water here to keep us hydrated as well. In case if the lemonade dehydrates us a little bit.
Yeah. No, this is a very exciting interview to do with you. I don't know if people remember this, but I did an IG live with you during the pandemic. Do we remember this?
Goodness
Do you remember
gracious.
Do you remember it?
No,
it's okay. But I was like, dude, when this whole pandemic's over, and this show that is happening, I was gotta get Mallery back on, and she's been very gracious and patient with me. Sometimes it's hard to schedule these interviews, figuring out where to go, and so she's opened her home up. So thank you so much for opening up your home.
Of course.
And opening up today. I think she shared a little bit about what she does, but there's so much here, right? How did Mallery get here? And that's really what I want to. I want to learn. I'm curious, and I want to show how inspirational you are, and just talk about all these nuances that it is to be you.
Oh, sister, I'm telling you, I don't think an hour is going to be enough for all the nuances in my life.
We'll try.
We will try to get as much as I can in for you all as possible. I will tell you this, coming from Montgomery, Alabama, I was born in 1990, so I'm a millennial.
Oh, you're younger than me.
Just a little bit. I'm coming up there. But I can remember at the age of 5, Jackie being so outspoken even as a kid.
Yeah?
I think I'm trans.
At 5?
At age 5, 1995.
Wait, how did you know the words? Because I think a lot of it too is when you're growing up, you don't have the words or the terms.
That's exactly.
For me, I did not. How did you know?
Well, back then we would say things like, "Oh, I feel like I'm a girl.
Okay.
I'm a little girl." So those would be the languages that I would use.
Okay.
And then once I got older, because when I was in kindergarten, the school was not supportive. Yeah, please, absolutely.
Thank you.
The school was not supportive. It wasn't affirming. In kindergarten. So by the time I got to high school, and I was a sophomore in high school in 2006. And I told myself, I was it's now or never. And that was the first time for me at the age of 16 where it was I had heard the word transgender, and it came from the Tyra Banks show.
Did it?
She interviewed an incredible, if you remember America's Next Top Model.
I do.
And Isis King was on there, and it was back in 2006, 2007, and she was I'm a trans girl. And when she said that, I was and they showed us her life story. And all of that just registered with me. I was like, that's the word. Transgender. That's me. That's what they're trying to say. Like, that's what I've been trying to say. Excuse me.
So I always like to break down these moments because I feel like these are defining moments in our lives.
Yes.
And so I see you smiling and lighting up. So when you saw this, were you like overcome with joy? Because now you're like, it's like, I don't know if like what you were feeling before, but to know that there was words, like there was like that you can identify, like, how was that for you?
Sister, once I knew the word transgender, I was so elated, but I was also so scared.
Yeah.
Because I had, kind of vocalized it 10 years before. Yeah. And then I was shut down in Alabama. And of course now, fast forward to 18 years later, we know all about like, don't say gay and this and that in schools. So it was really hard to communicate that. But once I told my mom, she was like super supportive.
Really?
Super supportive. And it was just after that, I was like, okay, I can do this.
Wow. What do you think led to your mom being supportive? Like, what do you think it was about her as a person, her background? Like, what do you think helped to foster a space like that for you?
I would say what has helped is the fact that she comes from a family that is very open-minded. My grandparents didn't really go to church, so they're not like, they're spiritual, but not like overzealous Christians, right?
Yeah, that religion.
And so I think all of that, but then on the flip side, I have like an uncle, her brother, he's like, who didn't grow, like he literally grew up in the same household with her, and he's like super conservative. So how they said sometimes like you rebel against your parents, I think because my grandparents were so liberal and like peace and all that. So I think he just, and unfortunately that's like one of the few family members who's just still very closed-minded. But when it comes to the rest of the family, it was just like a no-brainer. Everyone, and I think because I've also been so feminine and girly, quote unquote, it was just like, okay. And I also only have brothers. So my mom was like, I got a daughter. So I can go shopping with it and do my hair and give me curls. And it's been that ever since.
Well, what's her name? Thank you.
Yes, please. And thank you. Her name is Therese Robinson. Thank you, Mommy, for your love and support. I can't believe it's been 18 years on this journey as Mallery, but then 34 years as her child. So completely. So it feels really beautiful.
I think it's beautiful, and it's like, it's also like, I think it's so, what's also beautiful, I guess, is that you just were there for yourself. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you were wanting to figure out who you were and all this stuff. And it's like, do you look back and you're like, that felt very natural to you to be like I'm trying to understand who you were?
I think there was always this curiosity around like just wanting to like put a word with my identity. I don't know if there was ever really a moment in my life where I felt that I would truly have that answer. At one point I was thinking of self-harm, Jackie, trigger warning. I was thinking of self-harming. And so that was, kind of the path where I was on. And it was a really good friend named Carlin who, when I was in high school, he said, Mallery, don't you do that. He said, you got too much to do. You have, and and I'm so thankful I didn't, self-harm, because now I'm here with you and able to talk about these beautiful victims and so much more. But it was a scary journey. I will admit, I didn't know how my classmates in high school were going to.
So you were talking about, you were like, okay, you were 16 or?
16. I'm like the Taylor Swift song, but I'm 15. I was almost there, but 16. But to the credit of my high school, Jackie, everyone was so affirming, so sweet. I took my senior pictures as female presenting. My classmates got me a date for prom.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm trying to tell you, folks will see, even in the most conservative areas, and don't get me wrong, there are still people who are, very anti-trans, and Alabama, where I'm from, reflects a lot of that. But the people that are there, the good-hearted people, is kind of like what we talked about earlier about finding good people. Yes,
at the core, like just people who just genuine people. That genuineness of just like.
I didn't think I would meet someone like groups of people like that in high school, teenagers. We think of like our youth, and we're like, we think of bullying and we think of harassment and all those things, especially as a trans youth at the time. And so for me, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but everyone pleasantly surprised me.
Wow. I think you're also your genuineness, I'm sure, like comes across. You know?
And I was voted most friendly in high school too.
Look
so
at
that they
Look
know
at
me.
that.
I was the girl that would go around and talk to everyone and be like, "How's your day going?"
I can see that. I can see you doing that.
I do it here on the property. Hi. And they'd be like, "You're not from here, are you?" Because like in California, we don't speak to each other.
Literally, it's true. Like I meet people, and I'm like, "You're not from." When they're too nice, I'm like, "You're not from California."
That's it.
I'm like, "Where are you?"
I think that's what it should have been called, most too nice. I'm telling you, but they gave me most friendly, and I'm super thankful for like the love and support that I had in high school because it was a different time, and I think about our incredible trans youth and non-binary youth like Next Benedict and Letitia King, whose lives were snuffed out before they could even get started, and to think that a classmate could have been capable.
That is
and being from where I'm from too, because Alabama and Oklahoma are, kind of like pretty similar, in terms of politics, not geographically, but definitely in terms of how they, view our LGBTQ community. So, again, I'm super thankful for how things played out, especially as a Black trans woman, because I know, and I went to a predominantly white school as well. So, it could have, definitely could have went differently.
Wow.
And I know it has for other community members, but super thankful for all the support that I had and still do.
Wow. Okay, so coming out of high school, what was the next chapter of your life? Because now you're like, okay, I've been able to live in my truth in high school, good reception. So you want to continue, right, to live that authentic life. Like, how was that next chapter of your life for you?
Wow. Excuse me. I would say what helped me in my next chapter was to know that everything was going to be okay with myself. So once I learned to love myself after like coming out, I knew that there was no way that I could go back. So when I graduated high school in 2008, I went on to college and I received my double B. Hey! It's maybe hard to see on the frame.
I don't know if you can see it in the frame, but we'll do a little B-roll.
We'll do some B-roll. But I would say that college was interesting, Jackie.
Okay.
It was a good, interesting, but also like, to give you a little context, so I did actually 2 different universities. Okay. My freshman year, I went to Jacksonville, Florida, which is where I would end up moving back 2 years later. But at my very first year of college, I was in Jacksonville, Florida. And it was called Jacksonville University, the school. And so it's a private Christian college. I went there and I remember they had no LGBTQ stuff on campus. So you know what I did? I was like, we're creating. Oh yeah, I was like LGBTSA. I was like lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, straight. I did. It was in the school paper.
Okay. Now we're gonna have ourselves because I feel like that's okay. So you said something right before this story. You were saying something about how you're like, when I finally loved myself.
Yes.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Please.
That is a huge thing to own and to experience. Like, what helped you there? Like, I mean, I think a lot of us like, oh man, like I remember in therapy just a few years ago, my therapist was like, say it, you're a proud gay woman. And I was like, I felt weird saying that, dude.
Yeah,
it's like something, I spent a lot of my time like commenting to my family and not figuring out like, Absolutely. So when I hear you say that, like and especially, as a proud trans Black woman, like I want to know, how do you get there? Like what, maybe it was people along the way or I don't know, but like when you look back at like what got you to that space to say that, what comes to mind?
It was, Jackie, it was perfect the way you put it, people. It was the love from people. I will admit, in life, everyone isn't the kindest in the world. Yeah. But to have so much
shame.
Right? I'm like,
come on.
Be better.
Be better.
Do better. You can do it. This is why I'm doing, part of this is why we do the work, right? To raise awareness so people can. But it was really good people. It was genuine people who wanted to see me. Yeah, who wanted to see me rise and shine and not dim my light. I think that's important.
That's right here.
Dim my light. Let anyone dim your light. And they were like, "Oh no, baby, you got to shine. You keep shining." And
that's the only way.
It was, and I literally said, "I was like, I'm trans," and I never looked back. And by the time I got on campus in Florida,
doing what you're doing there,
doing what I'm doing there, I loved myself in 2 years. Yeah. and at that point, I'm 2 years into my journey, and I had to learn to love myself. I had to overcome a lot too, because I wasn't an intimate partner violence relationship, and a survivor of that in high school. And we don't really talk about like intimate partner violence between youth, or like with trans folks and stuff. So I had to learn how to love myself after all of that, being in that situation, coming out as trans. And then to fast forward to go into college, I was kind of like, I'm going away for the first time from Alabama. So
from the people that you, from
the support system. So it was all so scary. I'm telling you, I was so nervous and frightened. And before I knew it, my sister, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I got this. I done did the therapy. I done did the work. It's still going to be more work involved, but I can do that. So then, I went to Jacksonville University. I started the LGBTSA club on campus.
Oh my gosh.
And then also I did the first AIDS walk, World AIDS Day walk. So we walked around the entire campus, marched, and just kind of like remembered those who had lost their lives due to HIV and AIDS. So
what drives you to do all this? Like, I'm looking at you and I'm like, I'm seeing what you did in college, and I'm like, okay, check, makes sense what you're doing now. But I'm like, not everyone does this, right? Like, not everybody cares enough to. But there's something about Mallery. There's something about you, dude, that you're like, you want to go there. You want to show up. Like, what? Do you know that? Like, do you know that is not like your average person? Like, you are a champion.
Oh, sister, thank
I'm
you.
serious. Yeah, do you recognize like your history here? Like,
I'm getting a little emotional because sometimes like I don't think about it. I'm just always so used to just like you saw me, being from the South. I'm like, are you good? Are you good? Like I'm always used to making sure everyone else is good. So I never take a moment to just be like the word. I never think about it, because it's just always a continuum.
Why do you care so much? What makes you care so much?
I think because it could be me, and then you think about, when you relate to what's going through, when you see other people, and I think just the fact that like kindness is so key.
Yeah.
And when we don't give that in the world, we offer and allow ourselves to, have a lens of judgment and discrimination and bigotry. And that's not, so I was like, if I don't speak up, and I was scared, don't get me wrong, like I'm an 18-year-old, 16-year-old kid, like I'm like, who am I? This big
You're still scared though.
7 billion people. I'm like, I don't know who's crazy and who's not, and and so I was, worried, but I had to, sister, I had to be like, someone has to. So, and don't get me wrong, like I've had scary moments where I've been in the mall back when I was in college and had someone like, question my gender identity and try to attack me, and it was, again, good people. My friends in college, my freshman year, who was like, oh no, you're not going to touch her. No, man, I think it was like guardian angels and spirits. And I was like, thank you for keeping me safe. But if I had been by myself, right, in some of these situations, like, I really don't know where I would be.
Wow.
So that is how I've kind of just, I never think about the work that I do, but thank you for
oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like,
and you do such great work too.
I mean, no, you're like, you're dealing with, and I do want to talk about obviously her podcast, but I also want to like give acknowledgement to you and your experience.
Thank you.
And to have someone who has the grace that you have, the empathy, like it's really cool. So yeah, I want to just like I want to understand who this person is. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just continuously like knowing that there's a bigger cause than myself.
Okay.
I think so many, especially now, when I look back now, 18 years ago, when I started, while trans and anti-LGBTQ policies were always kind of like being put into place.
Yeah,
it's like extremely high now, Jackie. And so I think looking back at my life, there was almost like this calling. Well, I was like, I need to do this. I need to do this because someone has to. And for me, I didn't care if I got hurt.
Wow.
And I come from, and you asked me as well, you asked me like, the people. So I talk about this a little bit, but not too much. But my maternal grandfather, he's a civil rights activist, and he worked alongside with Malcolm X.
No way.
And seriously, he's a Black Panther, former Black Panther.
Oh my God.
I know he's like, I put those dates.
So it's in your blood.
It's in my blood. And my great grandmother walked along with the Selma March and the Boys Boycott with Rosa Parks.
Wow.
So I come from this outspoken Caribbean, Haitian, indigenous family that's just like, oh, no. Like, and you speak up, you show up. And that I think for me is just kind of, it's ingrained in me and my DNA to not stay silent.
Yeah.
So that is. Once I started the LGBTSA and we did the Beautiful World AIDS Day, I then returned back home to Montgomery, Alabama, and that is where I graduated with my double BA in biology and history.
Oh dang!
It was scary too, because like I was also at like another private Christian college back home, and I wasn't sure like how folks were gonna take it.
I know.
It came with some challenges, of course. Like there were classmates who weren't the kindest like they were in high school. And I think that was the first time once I got back home where I was like, I knew people could be mean, but to have like classmates.
How was that for you? Do you want sharing? Like,
sure. It was hard. It sometimes still is. I think a lot of us can relate to like trying to make friends and connect with people. And when you have intersectionalities that people don't understand, it makes people kind of like retreat and kind of and pull away. And wanting to connect, or even like if I wanted to talk about things such as trans issues or Black issues or things like that, it was always really hard to have those conversations because people were just uncomfortable. So I found myself like in college, interesting enough, like the first year I was like, but by those few years where I was getting my degree, I was just like, let me just get my degree because I just want to focus on that. And then once I graduated, I was like, okay, the activism continues. So then I went ahead and like start teaching openly and proudly as a trans teacher in Florida. I had moved back to Florida.
I don't know. Sorry. I don't know if you noticed what you just shared right now. Like you're the type of person that, when you're met with this sort of conflict and negativity, like you move forward. Like you're like, move, you know what I mean? Like,
I try to.
Dude, like, and the fact that you like want to educate, like you are like, do you recognize that in yourself? Like this is the kind of, it's just admirable. It's just
Thank you. I
like
I think about it, but not like think about it because I'm just so used to doing the work and making sure that the needle is moving. So I don't ever just like take a breath and be like, you've done some things, girl.
Yeah, where you could have, truthfully, us as humans, like where we could have stopped, or we could have been like defeated, or we could have been like, but you're just so strong in your conviction, and you're so strong in like wanting to do your part, whatever that looks like, to make things better and to, like I just trying to give you your flowers here because this is special. This is what I'm talking about, and I hope people see themselves in you.
I really want people to just know, sister, and like yourself and Anna and so many other incredible beings. Like, never be afraid to speak up. Never be afraid to show up, because if we don't, who will? We have to be the change we want to see.
Yeah.
And I just knew, especially looking at things now, I was like, if I don't start the work and moving that needle, and there's so many other incredible trans activists and advocates who are doing the work as well. But I knew for myself, I was like, if I don't get involved, even as early as 16, and just I was like, then I don't know where we'll be. And while right now we have 24 states that are, have anti-trans bills, I'm determined to make sure that number decreases.
And we'll make sure to put all her information in the description, by the way, so you can follow and support with the work she's doing, which we are going to get into. Sorry, I'm not trying to delay
oh my goodness,
the goodies, which is like we're talking, we're trying to get to know who you are and what shaped you, because I think it's important for people to understand the person, behind these amazing efforts. Living authentically the way that you do, like, what does that feel like? Because I think also I want to put it out here for people who maybe are struggling with their gender identity, with sexual orientation, or whatever they're may be dealing with. Like, what does it if you can share with the peeps, like what it feels like to live in your truth. What does that feel like for you?
It feels good. It feels really good to live in your truth. It feels good to know that I wake up in the mornings and I never have to question anymore, like, do I belong? Like, do I love myself? Do I fit in? I know in my heart of hearts that trans people belong. We deserve love. We deserve life and the pursuit of happiness. And for me, I think that is what has helped me every morning, like to continue to love myself and rise and shine and just know that, like, yeah, it's going to come with some bad days, but trying to find the happy moments. And when I started teaching, it was like, and I went through a divorce. I was legally married to a cis man, and it was very unhealthy, but it was my students, Jackie.
No kidding.
At that time, who just got me through. I'm telling you, they would be like so silly in the classroom, and they were so willing to learn. Like, it's interesting when you look at the conservativeness of people. The students were so kind. As a trans teacher, no one ever made me feel, and this is in Florida, and from 2014 to 2019, where I was teaching middle school and high school science and history. And my
no kidding.
Yes, sister, I'm telling you.
You're smarty pants over here.
and I was worried, coming out and how students were going to react. I mean, I remember coming out as a trans youth, but then being an adult and a teacher.
It's so different. It's like another,
girl.
That's what I'm saying. It's so, you're brave and you are, wow,
and the faculty and staff was super supportive as well, the principals. But I tell people, be yourself, love yourself. I could have easily just been what's termed as stealth. And
can you explain what that is for people?
Absolutely. So the stealth is for our community members, LGBTQ+, if you, as for like myself for example, I've pretty much for myself have completed my gender journey in every sense of the word. And it's very easy in those moments when you've completed your journeys or you've come out to be like, I'm just going to fall back into the background and exist and not let people know my truth. And just, it's very easy to sometimes blend in and just kind of be part of the mass.
Yeah.
And that wasn't me.
Yeah.
I've always been kind of outside of the box and did things.
Proudly so, right?
Proudly so, I'm telling you. And I was like, oh my goodness. But, again, I have to tell folks all the time that students will surprise you. People will surprise you.
I love that.
Even in the South.
Oof, 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 oof. Okay, I guess we should talk about, so now I want to talk about the work you're doing. And it's funny, we met at an organization that supports LGBT people, and off the bat, Mallery, as no surprise to anyone, was like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Let's do this. And I was like, oh my God, okay. Let's do this. I was like, who is this person? I was like, okay. You alongside from, Millie and other people that I've gotten to know, it's just I've had to deal with my own, homosexuality and internalized homophobia, to be honest, growing up Mexican, Catholic, and the two of you and some other people, right, have opened my heart and my mind. And for me, it was I want to do that for more people, and you guys are the vehicles to do that. I really believe that in my heart. And so it's just anyways, it's just a full circle moment to be here with you. And I'm just I mean, I also think this is just also the beginning. I just feel like this person's gonna Mallory's gonna be watch and see. She'll look back and be like, oh yeah, I did that interview with Jackie.
One of my favorite interviews of all time.
I better.
I had snacks and drinks and laughter. All right, I can't complain. This is the perfect setup. More interviews like this, please.
Oh no, okay. The work. We've been talking a lot about the work. So, I mean, we could talk a lot about a lot of work, but I do want to spotlight the work you're currently doing with your podcast. Well, you've been doing, let's just say. Okay, so I'm going to do a cool introduction here. So Mallery knew that she had this brilliant idea of how to bring visibility to a very important topic and do it in a way that was digestible and really educative, but you have to engage people with this information. And I think I'm just really, I feel like it was innovative and it was so smart and creative. And And that's what you got to do if you want to bring like visibility to certain issues and topics. Like you got to think out of the box, and I feel like you did that. So without further ado, do you want to tell them about what your podcast is?
Yes. Thank you, Jackie, for the beautiful introduction. I appreciate you. I have a true crime and investigative journalism podcast called A Hateful Homicide. It is the only podcast of its kind that focuses on the hate crimes and hate violence incidents and murders of our transgender community, non-conforming, non-binary, intersex, and two-spirit community members in the United States and abroad. And it has been such a whirlwind. I will admit, like, I recall, sister, when I'm telling you, I was like, like you said, we got into the advocacy work when I moved to Los Angeles. I left Florida in 2019. I've been here in Los Angeles for 5 years. And I remember when I first got into like the professional efforts of advocacy, like in terms of like working with organizations to continue to do the work. Because it's one thing like do it like independently, which is great. But when you can also have other like-minded folks in space, that was really helpful for me. So I remember the beautiful clients, community members, they would be like, Miss Mallery, we're being murdered. No one cares. And we're tired of being like dead named and victim blamed and shamed. And I don't know, sister, it was like something about that, Jackie, where I was kind of like, okay.
You were listening.
I felt it.
Like,
I felt it. Like, I felt it. Like, thing I can still remember, that beautiful Black trans woman who came up to me and she was like, we just want to be seen. We want to be respected. Why is it that like Dateline and 48 Hours and I don't mean to name drop shows, but just being like, for example, those shows that kind of focus on missing moms. And of course, all those topics are important. That goes without saying.
But using their vehicle, their platform for something that's clearly happening on a regular.
And no one's talking
about it.
And if they do talk about it, then it's inaccurately. Well, they're the reason why they got murdered. They didn't disclose their identity, which
such biases and such like not compassionate towards.
No. Yeah. And that's how hateful homicide came to be because I was like, no one is covering this. I have community, including myself, who's impacted by the murders. I mean, when I graduated high school in 2008, there was a beautiful Black trans girl named Letitia King, who didn't even get to start her journey. She was only 15 and her classmate, like very similar to Next Benedict, targeted her 16 years ago. And, I was thinking about her case in particular when I began a hateful homicide because I thought to myself, I was like, wow, that's the same year I graduated. And I remember being in high school and I was like, again, you resonate with it in so many ways because like, that could be you.
Could have been me,
It could have been me. And then I thought about her case and how she was essentially like blamed for her own murder. Oh, she came to school female presenting. Oh, all these different things that the media, right?
Like what?
Right. So did I. Right. I'm like, does that mean
what the hell? What do you think? Why do you think that the narrative is that way? What is the seed of that, you think?
I think the seed of the narrative is fear. The fear and the bias, like you mentioned, of the unknown. And if you do have an opinion, a lot of people will cite it. Spaghetti. Sorry. A lot of times people too will use their religion as a and you talked earlier about being Catholic, and I come from like, even though my family is a little bit more like loose when it comes to their spirituality, excuse me. We essentially did identify as like Southern Baptist. And so that for me was just a challenge itself. But I think a lot of people, no matter how you show up and how you worship, will cite that so many times. I can recall being in Alabama and like when marriage equality was a huge thing, like still to this day, like even though it's legal in every state, Alabama and like a few other states are like, they'll cite religion as to why they won't either serve you, right? Like you can go to restaurants and if they see like queer couples, for example, like you and Jackie or myself, they'll be like, I refuse to serve you because of my religion. Or like they wouldn't give out marriage licenses. And these things are still happening. And so that's what leads to fear, right? So fear leads to all of these things that I gave you examples of.
Oh my goodness. So this podcast, how many seasons so far?
Season 5.
Season 5.
Season 5, episode 7 currently.
Oh my God.
We'll be wrapping up the season in May.
Okay.
So right before I go to CrimeCon.
Yeah, where are you going? You were telling me offline, but where are you going in May?
In May. So as I wrap up that May Day, heyday, we're going to be heading out to Texas to the CrimeCon sponsored by Oxygen Network. It's the only that I'm aware of, like, major true crime convention and conference that focuses on, again, the violence of all people. And I'm super honored and thankful that A Hateful Homicide has been invited. I was telling you about the True Crime and Paranormal Activity Festival I went to last year in August. And it was those beautiful people who, saw me tabling and talking about A Hateful Homicide. And they were like, what? This exists? And then
this exists.
It exists.
This exists. Like, that's what you're doing.
No. And then, of course, the name itself was like, the name A Hateful Homicide. And some people have joked, they're like, aren't all homicides hateful? And I'm like, yeah. But I was like, but this time.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about the
name. Yeah. That was one of the conversations brought up too, because I was like, call people. And then once I explained to them, I was like, absolutely every homicide is hateful and vicious and it's unthinkable. But when we think of like hate crimes and hate incidents, we have to think of our marginalized communities. This is why like those procedures were put into place legally and laws to keep people from having fear and then resulting in murdering and even, attacking our trans community. So that for me is just why it's so important to continue to just like do the work. And while we're on season 5, episode 7, and we're going to CrimeCon and so.
How has the response been from the community and from and for people outside of the community? What has been like gratifying to hear?
Gosh, it's interesting. I will admit this, you all. Season 5 has literally been like on demand. Like audience have told me, please cover the first 2 episodes. Marsha P. Johnson and Venus Extravaganza. Those were like 2 cases that I had just been wanting to cover. It's like just our transcestors and leaders of the Pride movement and Stonewall movement. But after episode 2 of season 5, I would get like requests from people, and it's like, please, like, can you tell the story of this community member? And it's been so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it's almost like the realization of like why you started this when you were listening to these people asking you to tell these stories, and now people want to literally tell these stories on your podcast. Like, I think that is such a amazing milestone that you're crossing right now. And I think like I really want to admire like also the hard work to do that work, both emotionally, mentally, but also physically, right? To be on top of everything you have going on, because we're gonna talk about some other stuff that you're doing. Like, you are at it. Season 5, like, that's a huge accomplishment, and I hope that you recognize that. Like, and I'm telling you, don't just keep going, and you will get the opportunities will just get bigger and bigger.
And keep pushing forward. Don't let the naysayers or just people who don't, because you have people who don't care about our community and don't care about us being murdered. They're just like, okay, tough, and like it happens. But to have those people who are like, wow, this is happening way too often. Like, so many people don't realize like how many trans people are murdered every day. And every year, and which is why TDOR, Trans Day of Remembrance, comes in November 20th to highlight that. But what about the other 364 days?
What's your wish? Like, what's your wish, like, coming out of this podcast? What are your wish as far as, like, what are the things that you wish, the impact that you want to see from the community, from allies, from humanity? Like, what are the things that come to mind?
What I would love to see is community continue, especially our allies and our cis community members who are still learning and wanting to learn. I encourage you to listen to an episode of A Hateful Homicide. We're also available on YouTube, so you can watch, put on your enable closed captions. So there's plenty of ways for you to like engage and learn. There shouldn't be a reason in 2024 why we were like, oh, I don't know anything about like trans identities, gender. I mean, it's literally everywhere, from like the anti part of it to the pro part of it. So I encourage people, no matter what side of the fence you're on, whether you're like anti-trans or pro-trans, listen, learn, be willing to know that these victims exist. The fact that of course, it's an honor to, have our beautiful community. Like I've had like, for example, the mayor of West Hollywood, who was like, I listened to your show.
Shut the front door.
I've had friends from most conservative friends from high school and college who are like, I've taken a listen.
Look at what you're doing.
Thank you, sister. And they're willing to listen and learn, and it allows people to be like, I have family members who may be trans. I have friends who may be trans or not out yet, but still, if they do come out, you can have that sense of empathy and connection because I know that like if I don't allow love to lead, then look at what can happen. And I'm so thankful. Again, I know we began the conversation about my mom, but it's those people who are like, okay, I don't know much about this, but I want to learn so I can be a better person for humanity, for society. And again, that's what I hate for homicides about.
And I mean, and not to like, but I have to say like, the production is amazing. Like,
sister, thank you.
Like, I mean, you have to say, like, you're dealing with heavy stuff, but yet you're able to do it in a way that's like, it's creative. To be honest, it's art. That's what you're doing. It's art, and it's you can tell the passion behind it, and like, just the heart behind every episode, and the way you tell the story of each of them, the research that you do. And even like listening to your podcast, like you're also learning how to understand the community too. And a lot of nuances that you bring on, and it brings that education. So you almost like bring also education. It's like, it's a whole thing.
I try to like, especially when, for example, there was a case where the victim, she was a married trans woman, and her husband and her best friend, both loved her. They were like madly in love with her. And essentially, they killed her because neither one of them could have her.
Oh my goodness.
And part of that episode was talking about intimate partner violence. Like, of course, I said Diane Dilia's name in that episode, but I also remember like, okay, I want people to understand like intimate partner violence happens. Not only that, but then trans folks can get married and can be victims of being murdered by their spouses, which is never a good thing for anyone. But to just know that like, oh wow, okay, trans people can get married. They can.
Yeah, visibility and humanity, humanizing, like.
Exactly. That's what it's all about. And that's
what it's all about.
I really appreciate you for just holding that space for me to be able to like share about these beautiful victims, because I try to do like 13 to 14 episodes each season, typically about 45 minutes to about an hour. Really give people, like you said, when you're on the road and all that good stuff, give you something to listen to, learn.
Yes.
And it's been a reward, awarding for me to just rewarding, excuse me.
No, have any of the family members or friends of these people, have they reached out to you?
Oh my goodness, yes, all the time.
My God.
I know, sister. So season 5, episode 3, for example, the murder of Dominique. She was a beautiful Black trans woman who was murdered in 2013 by a romantic partner, and it was a friend of mine who had recommended the episode, and then they were telling me her name's Aaliyah Ann Daniels, beautiful Black trans woman as well. She's like, I knew this girl.
Wow.
We should say her name. She was a reality star. She was actually like, she was up and coming here in California. And we don't know a lot about our beautiful victims who are just living life and thriving. And sometimes we just think, oh, like they've been murdered and like they had these hard lives. And that's true. Of course, life is hard for all of us, but it's also good to know that like they actually like had a purpose. Like she was raising awareness in her own way. So one of the things that I got to do to say her name was to be able to bring in her best friend.
Oh my God.
And he's an incredible man. And like, please, if you have not seen season 5, episode 3, it's on YouTube. You can listen as well. But Ryan Hope, the executive producer, for the reality show that him and Dominique were on, came in and talked about like their journey as best friends. He's openly queer, she's trans, and they just talked. And he part of that interview, he talked about like learning himself and knowing, because after she passed away, he was like, I just kept thinking it was, I didn't know much about trans identities. And then, learning about her murder and then experiencing it, it really opened his eyes. So I was really thankful that he came on to talk about. And,
Look at you.
So yeah, we're growing. People are slowly wanting to open up and talk about.
Okay. So how do you feel after 5 seasons? How do you feel about, you had this idea, you're telling these stories, like, how do you feel after 5 seasons?
I feel very thankful.
Okay.
to be here. Because, you know, I mean, I talked to you earlier. I've had some close calls in life. And to know where I could have been, especially when I cover these cases, and you never think of like murder being something that you have to even configure into your head. And like, but for me, once I knew that like we were being murdered at an astronomical rate, it was important again to get these beautiful victims' stories out there. And so to be at season 5 and to see the continued growth and glow, Jackie.
I'm so happy for you. Like, I mean,
means a lot, seriously.
Oh my God, no.
Oh, sister, I'm like,
oh, sweet.
I'm sorry to mean to get like emotional.
No, I know. I'm telling you though, like,
it hurts so much to know our victims. I'm so tired. I didn't mean to get like emotional, Cameron.
No,
I'm so tired
it's okay.
Murder, Jackie.
No, it's. I think.
And I just want people to care.
Oh, girl.
That's all I want. I don't even care if it's about me. I don't care. Like, I don't have to be on camera. I don't have to talk. I just want people to know that these victims existed, that they had a life, that they were living. And I just want, like you said, just those people who care. But like, yes, it needs to be shown so people know it. Maybe I don't have to do this work anymore. Like, that would be great one day to be like, there are no more seasons because there are less murders. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know it's important work to cover, but gosh, it would be so nice to not have to know that. It's sad to know that there's 5 seasons, and unfortunately now after the hateful homicide of Next Benedict, I'm going to prepare that for the next season. And so every time you kind of, when you don't hear about the crimes happening as much, you know, especially covering it, and then all of a sudden you learn that a 16-year-old kid was bullied and beaten in school, and I'm like, I've been doing 5 seasons of this, and we still haven't, like, people still aren't getting it and learning that that's not okay. You don't get to just take someone's life for existing as themselves. And I just don't understand, like, what I can do more than this as you know, as being part of the needle that's moving. I don't know what more I can do other than this, sister. And it's been a calling ever since that beautiful Black trans woman told me what was going on. And I mean, you know, when you come from the South, you come from Alabama, it's so closed off, and you don't identify with other people. I didn't know other trans people in Alabama. I didn't know other trans people in Florida. So then move here and then hear that so many of us exist, like myself, and then to know that we're being murdered, that shit hurt, Jackie. I was like, what? We're being murdered? I was like, I knew we could be attacked. Yeah, but murder, so it's it's a bittersweet to know, like, yeah, we're on 5 seasons and it's a great thing, but then also, like, it saddens me to know, like,
you're like,
I'm gonna have to keep doing this. And
well, that's why, you know, I think, I also think it's like important to recognize, like, you're one person, like, and I think, like, you're look at me, you're doing like above and beyond what anybody can do. Like, I hope that you know that too. Like, it's also important to, like, understand that, like, you got to do your part, and also, like, you got to take care of yourself, you know. Like, I hope you recognize that, like, that's so important.
I'm trying to take care of myself in all of this, sister, because it's hard sometimes. Like, I do the research, I gotta talk about them, and then, like, after the episodes, I find myself just been like, this really did happen, right? Like, these folks really went through that. And so it's just and then again, thinking of myself, I'm like, that it still could happen. So yeah, sister, it's just
that's. I mean, there's nothing I can say to. I mean,
no, you're just.
I don't know what to say, but I just know.
I
just want you to know that, like, I think you're doing, like, incredible work, and it's coming, like, from your heart, and it's. That's what I was saying, like, earlier. I'm like, do you recognize, like, this is who you are? Like, you want to help and serve and support, and you're doing that.
And it's not for profit, right? I make, and it's not about that, but I make nothing from a hateful homicide. And when I go to these different conferences or tables to continue to raise awareness, and I order materials, like, it's all out of my pocket, which is totally fine. But
yeah, it's you're putting your stuff on the line. I mean, you're doing the stuff. So.
Absolutely, and I just want people to, like, invest the same way that I have in a hateful homicide. You know, I want people to, like, see, okay, this is something that we need to talk about. This is something we need to invest in. And like you said, I'm hoping at CrimeCon in a couple of months that like you said, manifesting that one
Well,
person.
I want people to invest in you. I want you to be like, I'm manifesting, but like, wait, did the camera go off?
Oh no!
Woo. Okay, so we were having some. I'm very honest about the camera stuff here, so yeah, that's probably why you saw some clips there. But obviously, it did get. I just want to thank you for being vulnerable with us today, because it's like, it's real shit. It's hard shit. It's heavy shit, and just like,
it's really hard and heavy.
Just like, I hope that whoever's watching here and feels compelled, like, to want to help or support, like, they can reach out to you, right?
Of course,
always
please.
Can reach out to Mallery.
Absolutely, I'll make sure you have all of my contact information and social media and how you can follow a Hateful Homicide. So that way, please, I want folks to stay connected and learn. And if it's not for you, I completely respect that. But I just encourage you to at least share. Share the episodes. Just let people know. Share the victims' voices. It's pretty much like the way I like to put it. Instead of episodes, but sharing the victims' voices is all I can ask for.
Love that.
Thank you for letting me be vulnerable.
No, I mean, it's the work. Oh, do you want to get in a little more? Because I feel like I'm hogging the frame here, and
goodness,
no bueno. I'll just say this is like, when you see people out there in the community who are doing the work, like, they're doing the work and they also are part of the community, and so there's a lot of heaviness in that. So whenever you see somebody who's doing the work, give them a little extra love, because it's a lot. Like, and so that's all I'll say about that. But I guess that segues into, so in addition to the podcast, there's a lot of things that you do, but I do want to kind of highlight what you're doing with the empathy training.
Absolutely.
Can you share what it is and sort of how it came to, like, what was that? How did it come? The ideation of it. That's always fun.
I know. It was interesting. So I thank you, Jackie, for that incredible introduction and segue. Transgender empathy trainings are, I also call them like TET, TED Talks.
I like that.
Right? Yeah, a little TED Talk instead of TED. But one of the things that, and it's interesting enough, fun fact, that Hateful Homicide and Transgender empathy trainings were created on the same day. On TDOVR 2021.
No way.
And again, it was community response. The same beautiful communities who was like, on the flip side, if we are alive and we go into healthcare organizations, which we know right now with the bathroom ban and, banning gender affirming healthcare, all of these things are real. So I remember a beautiful community member was like, I'm tired of going into the doctor's office, trying to get my hormone replacement therapy, which is essential for some of us in our gender journey as trans and non-binary folks. And the fact that she was being met with so much apathy. And that was her word. She's like, everyone, the healthcare providers are so apathetic. Like, they only care about my day. Like, especially if you're positive, sometimes HIV positive, some providers will only just, want you to get tested so they can get those numbers for, and we've been in nonprofit spaces, so how sometimes that can go, they like, gotta get those deliverables.
That can go,
And the community was just tired of feeling, as including myself, feeling like that's the only time we're relevant in spaces if you want some kind of like HIV data or something, or STI data. But what about when we just need to come in for like general care? And and the fact that when we do go in, a lot of times is, misgendered. A lot of times providers don't even use their practice using pronouns. So all of those things came to me, and I was like, I think we need to have a training that focuses on how to just build those empathetic approaches and skills with the trans community. And again, almost 3 years later, here we are with a Hateful Homicide and Transgender empathy training.
I mean, I just feel like you're doing this work that is covering so many gaps, and do you see that? Like, because she's so hard on herself. Like, I feel like you think you're not doing enough, and I'm just like, you are doing it. You're doing this, and this training, like you said, like you're thinking of all the opportunities of like where in the system, right? Where in community can I educate? And I think the empathy and the education is really important, because it is a approach that I think is very accessible. And it's with heart, I think, I think that's my interpretation of like the way you lead and the way you impact.
Thank you, sister. And that's what I again, I think I say I try, but I continue to see, I'm learning this. I try, like I'm doing it, but I I appreciate that, sister. And I will admit it's hard sometimes because, I am a county vendor for Los Angeles County. So I do provide my transgender empathy trainings to like the board of supervisors.
That's huge.
Thank you.
I'm like, that's huge.
Oh, sister. And I've also presented at the National Latinx Conference, my transgender empathy trainings, and just so many other spaces. And people have been very receptive.
Wow.
I know there's like typical, like, right, LGBTQ 101 trainings.
Yeah.
And we talk about things like pronouns, but really when we get into like the heart and soul of just like centering trans folks and like how to be empathetic towards a specific group that oftentimes aren't met with that, and clearly with a hateful homicide, right? So like empathy hasn't been met for a lot of us. So it was just, again, I was like, how else can I bridge the gap?
Wow.
And do the work in a way that not only if for example, if you're not into the podcast, then maybe you'll be willing to like just learn in a different way and receive a training.
Yeah, how these trainings, have there been any moments where you're like, you're seeing the openness, like people are opening up, or people, do you see the empathy in their eyes? Like, how has it been for you? Anything stand out?
Yeah, everyone's been so understanding. I mean, they really want to learn, which is to your point, like you were telling me, like a lot of people will surprise you. I was like, do people really care? Do they want to listen? Is there a space, for example, like a hateful homicide? And you're like, no, like, people want to learn more about our trans community because there's so much misinformation.
Yeah.
So that's the reception that I get a lot of times. Like once I conclude the training, it's typically about 2 hours. I have a first half of the training that really just focuses on like really learning about the community statistics and stories and how we're impacted from like healthcare to education. And then the second part really goes into like that quantitative data and like really focuses on like the data that impacts our trans community members, especially those of color. And so I always keep it engaging. I'm like, let's stand up, let's do this. And so people, even if you're like, okay, I'm just sitting here learning about trans folks, like, it's like, this is still a great way for you to like be engaged and learn. And I've seen so many people like interact and participate in the activities. So I'm very surprised. But then there was this one time, sister, where this guy, he was like, why do y'all call us cisgendered? Like, we didn't ask to be called that. I was like, I don't think I ever asked to be called African American either. But it is a technical term, and and cisgender is a term that has always been there. It's just, again, a lot of people hadn't used that word or phrase. So it has been a lot of learning for all of us.
So I'll make sure her information's in there too, because you have social media for that as well, right?
Yes.
So you can learn more about, like, you can see some of the clips of what she does there. But I always think it's awesome because, like, for anybody out there who is part of an ERG or owns a business and has employees, like, I think it's a great way to support, because that is a way. Education is a way to support the community.
It really is. And you're doing it too. I just want to give you a kudos as well. You're educating everyone by like creating this space. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, Jackie.
No need to thank me. No.
Because, I know we all have busy lives and so much going on. And sometimes we get so caught up, we don't really think about like how other people are like really impacted. And I appreciate you for taking the time to be like, I know it's not about, oh no! But I think
there's the camera over here.
Oh, okay. I was like,
these cameras are just like.
But I want to give you your flowers too, and say thank you for all that you do, because by creating spaces like this, you're educating and letting the world know that like trans people exist. We matter. We've had lives. We have voices, and some of them have been silenced for senseless and stupid reasons. But like you're here. So I just want to kind of conclude with that message and just let you know how much I really appreciate your time today. Like 100.
I mean, how could I not tell people this beautiful soul? I mean, for me, it's like, yeah, I'm like, you're just
too. Don't you forget it.
No, I mean, for me, I'm like, this is an honor to interview you, to share this information, your story, and what you're doing with. I think what's so great about your story here is like to learn your experiences and then be like, what do I do with this? And like, what are you doing with this? And you're doing, not trying, you're doing things with this. And of course, it's very important that, and the spirit of what the work we do is that we all have to take care of ourselves and we have to be there for ourselves. And that includes me too, right? Like, we're out here and we're working hard, and I have to remind myself to take care of myself. Mental health.
Yes.
I do want to touch on that real quick, because I think, they see people like you and they're like, she's doing it. Are we taking care of ourselves? And I want to be honest. I want the transparency of this, because I'll be vulnerable with you right now, so that you don't feel like, but like, it's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard.
It's so hard, Jackie. It's so hard.
And it is a constant, I've been in therapy, and it was really helpful to figure out.
Me too.
And obviously I always recommend, but I think it's really important to know that you can always lean on people. Always. You really always can.
Thank you, sister. And it's sometimes hard to receive that, because I never want to burden people, right? You never want to be, coming from the South, you're so used to just like taking care of others and teaching it. So for me, I'm just like, I never want to like burden people with what I'm going through. But mental health is real. One of the things for me, covering true crime, witnessing the violence that our communities go through, for me, mental health looks like being able to have a therapist, being able to talk to someone, being able to journal, yoga, just find ways to escape, go to Disneyland and get on a roller coaster, just like scream it all out. I'm like,
why does nobody talk about Knott's Berry Farm? That's what I want to know.
And I have not been. Okay.
We need to.
You, Anna, and I are going to do
Anna doesn't like Knott's Berry Farm, so it'll be a you and me date.
Okay. It's got to be an MJ mom and Jackie.
I'm like, because you're totally right.
And those are things that
those are the moments.
Yeah. And when I like scream and shout like the Black Eyed Peas song, scream, shout and let it all out, I'm just this unleashing. But mental health, again, I just encourage those, especially of the trans community, like, don't be afraid to talk about your mental health. Don't be afraid to open up about what you're going through, especially as Black and Brown Indigenous folks. Like, we go through so much more than other groups, and it's easy just because we're taught to be strong. As people look like, just deal with it, out of sight, out of mind. And then before it does, it impacts you because you're just sweeping it under the rug. You're just staying silent, and you're not sharing what's going on with other folks and your loved ones. And it can impact you. So I just want to let folks know, like Jackie said, talk to someone.
Yes.
And know I'm here as well, too. Like, on the flip side, like, wow, it's great for me to be able to reach out to people. You can always reach out to me, and anyone else can. So thank you, sister.
Yeah, thank you. Oh my God. I'm like, we barely touched this goldfish right here. I'm like, part of me wants to like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that.
If you want to take me.
No.
I'll give you like a
Wait, actually, real quick, I just want to also applaud you on your health journey.
Oh my goodness, thank you.
I know. I've always struggled with my weight, and I barely, in one of the last interviews, I finally kind of opened up about how I've always been kind of like a comfort eater, and that has led to like my relationship with food and stuff. And so I'm still trying to like navigate that. But you had a remarkable transformation, and I want to focus more on your mindset, like your mind and the emotional side of your journey. How was that for you?
It was interesting. So in 2020, I underwent a gender affirming procedure. And prior to that, it was important for me to like have, again, like you said, being healthy and try to match my body mass index with my height, because all these things are so essential when we think of like affirming surgeries and recovery. So that was really the catalyst for me. It was kind of like a no-brainer. I think a lot of us, right, if we hear scary news about our health, you're almost just kind of like, let me change that right now,
right away, and then don't.
Right? It takes us a while to change those habits, but it took me a moment to just like really focus on being plant-based and pescatarian, which is my diet, seafood and vegan, all of those things, being able to drink water and just, walk and just, have those great ways of staying like active and engaging in those ways. It's really been a great journey. 4 years now since I've been plant-based pescatarian, and again, no regrets.
Can I ask you something?
Please, anything. You can ask me anything.
Okay, so I've always been overweight, and so for me, I know this sounds kind of silly, but like I've always identified with like I've never really been really healthy. So for me, it's like I'm just like the chubby girl, And I don't know. A part of me is like, I don't know. I'm kind of not scared, but like to feel like, what does it feel like to be healthy and feel that, and honestly feel beautiful. I know it sounds kind of silly. For you, now that you are here and you're doing it, you're living a healthy life, and you're really loving yourself in this way. Like, what does that feel like?
It feels good. You know, I mean, when I came out as trans at 16, I can still remember looking in the mirror and being like, Mallery Jenna Robinson, like, this is, you know, like, for me, I'm type 8 Capricorn, so I'm like...
Are you a Capricorn?
I'm a Capricorn, January 13th.
Anna is a Capricorn. And, like, one of my best friends, Mallery, is a Capricorn. This is nuts. Okay,
See,
go on.
Synergy
I know. It's real.
And that's why I get it. You know, Anna, being a Capricorn, those roller coasters can be scary. And I know not scary, but hey, if I can do it, I'm like, sister, we got this. I do. I just, oh my goodness, so sorry. I had a total brain freeze.
No, you're fine. I was asking you how it feels to be healthy, and you're like, it feels great.
Sorry,
you said that you were saying when you were 16, you looked in the mirror.
Yes, my apologies.
No, you're fine.
When I was 16, I was looking in the mirror and I was like, yes, this is my truth, and I'm gonna like do my part to make sure that it's, God willing, give me that ability to be able to like to do that. And then 18 years later in my journey, to see myself in the mirror now is really, I'm still sometimes kind of like, whoa. I'm like still taking it back. I'm like, this is me.
You're beautiful. Beautiful.
You are too. You're so beautiful. And
I'm working on it.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Working on it. But
you look, I'm loving the blouse and everything.
But I feel like I'm so proud of, I mean, it's just like the work you're doing for the community, but the work that you do for yourself and taking care of yourself. Like, that's the part that I haven't quite figured out how to take care of myself, like physically. I think you should be proud. I think you should be proud that you're taking care of yourself. And
do you like to go hiking?
No.
Okay. I was thinking,
I'm like,
we could start with a hike, a day hike.
I'm like so not a hiker. I do like walks. I like a good walk.
Okay, we'll do a good little power walk together one of these days. I'll come out there to Orange County and you're going to show me around. We're going to do some walking.
Power walk. Yeah, we'll do power walk. Yeah.
And if you need a motivational speaker or coach to like, when you're just like, Mallery, like, I don't know if I can do it today.
Okay, I'll be texting you.
I don't know if I feel like drinking that extra cup of water. So I'm like, you can do it, sister. One sip at a time.
I'll be texting you, girl. But I do feel like, I guess let's end it with that. I mean, it's love. Like, love for yourself is powerful.
It really is.
You can do some powerful things when you...
Well, it's like RuPaul says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Can I get an amen up in here? Okay.
That is a good way to end this delightful conversation with you. Thank you for letting us into your home. I'm sorry about the camera stuff, but we figured it out. I'm excited. This is, do you want to tell them what today is? When it's going to be published? So today, in theory, today is?
Yes, today is March 31st, and this day is known as Trans Day of Visibility. This is a day that really highlights the visibility of our beautiful trans, non-binary, intersex, and two-spirit community members. And it's also the day that a hateful homicide and transgender empathy trainings were launched. So 3 years today.
Oh, wow.
So I'm doing a little pat on the back, like you said, just, reminding myself like I'm doing it. So it's surreal to know 3 years I've been doing it. And like you said, just staying on course.
Yeah. Anything you want to tell the peeps out there for this day?
Yes, please, 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 my beautiful community members of the trans experience, non-binary, intersex, two-spirit, and even our LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual community members as well, because sexuality and gender identity are two different things. I would say no matter who you are and how you show up, just be visible. Don't let anyone silence you or put you in a corner. I'm like the old saying from Dirty Dancing, nobody puts baby in a corner. So don't you let anyone put you in a corner today. You be visible. You live out loud and proud and sachet. Okay.
That's going to be the clip, right? I feel like that has to be the clip that I post on social media.
Please. I thank you.
We did